is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
I am your father.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
Yes. And you're not sure about this, are you?
You're gonna die, clown!
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss? Sam, the most you ever lost on a coin toss. Call it.
Whose motorcycle is this?
It's a chopper, baby.
Whose chopper is this?
Zed's.
Who's Zed?
Zed's dead, baby.
Bring out today!
This is a tasty burger.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Hello, welcome back to See What Sticks, a podcast about everything and nothing. I'm Russell.
And I'm Ben.
And Ben, this episode is, I think, officially the last episode that will be coming out for 2018. So we successfully made it through another year.
We did. We have conquered this year. Hopefully, for you and for all of our listeners, it has been a year of more highs than lows.
Yeah, I would hope that everyone listening has had on the whole, personally speaking, a good year. And I think that brings us into ending this year on a positive note. Also, it's a fun fact that 2019 will be the third year of the podcast. So because it started 2017, 2018, 2019 will be the third calendar number year of doing See What Sticks, which is really weird to me that happened like that. So, yeah, thank you for people listening. But I think we can talk about some personal highlights and then just go into normal chat of a few things that we thought that we did successfully, maybe 2 or 3 things. And then people listening out there, you may have had a real garbage year or maybe had the best year of your entire life. Regardless, 2019 is a new, fresh start to do new, fresh things. So put 2018 behind you for better or worse. And yeah, I think everything has good and bad. So start the next year off on a fresh foot. And I know that can be hard for most people, but we're doing it too. So, Ben, what is one positive thing that you personally did or something in your life? It doesn't even have to be with you, something cool that you were a part of in 2018.
Really, I guess most of my past year and a half has basically been dedicated, when not home with family, it's been dedicated to just academics. Mm-hmm. So we've discussed before, I'm still a student at Purdue studying film and theater production, but my 2018 has been marked by pretty good academic success through the past 2 semesters. I've made Dean's List for 3 consecutive semesters, working on, a personal goal of mine is I want to graduate with honors. So I'm well on my way to that. I chalk that up to like I said, a great academic successful year. Yeah, that's my big thing. And also keeping my kids alive. Great success.
I think that's the biggest one. You seem like a good dad, so I think that's the biggest success of all. So, yeah, I think going on that, I graduated from Purdue, which was pretty cool. I didn't make honors or any of that. I didn't get cool tassels. I was very run-of-the-mill, oh, thank God I just got done with that. Jesus Christ. As soon as I walked across that stage, I'm like, I can finally breathe for the first time, because I was at Purdue for 3 years. I can finally breathe for the first time in 3 years, which was very nice. But Ben, you're a better student than I am or was. So when you walk across that stage, you'll have a bunch of tassels and a bunch of shit, and then they'll have you stand up. I think, yeah, they had all the people who were graduating with honors stand up, and people gave them a personal round of applause. And I think where I was in graduation, it was really funny. It was me, this girl, and then this guy. But literally everyone else around us, the entire group around us stood up and were like, cool. Good to know where we're sitting. But yeah.
Yeah. But this, a lot of people probably would agree with me in saying that just graduating from any college is a success story in and of itself. So no one should ever beat themselves up for, not graduating with honors or just missing, like if they were going for it, just missing that cutoff, like a GPA or something. Like, yeah, you might be a little bit bummed, but like, just think like you just graduated from college, and and in our case, like a major university,
and a very good major university. And even if like you went to, I don't know, the worst school in the United States and graduated, you still graduated. You have that piece of paper. Now you're in that club of people who have whatever that sheet of paper may be. And I think that's really huge. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it does to some extent, but it doesn't. Like, as long as you got that like milestone, or you're working on that milestone, whatever that may be, good for you. Like, for real. And I joke about it myself, and I can joke about it with you because you're also a liberal arts student at Purdue. I think it's funny to graduate from Purdue with a liberal arts degree because people expect it to be an engineering degree. You're like, nah, not about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like when I went through, there was a day of summer orientation or whatever, and I was already different because I was a much older student than a lot of the incoming freshmen. But when they kind of divided people up between schools, and it was just like pharmacy, engineering, and like 80% of the whole group of people that was there for orientation were like getting up and walking away, and like us little liberal arts kids were just like, oh yeah, we're here, we're the creative types.
Yep. And I think it's really funny to look at it like that, especially just like out in the real world as well, or whatever, or the not university world, because when you wear like, I'm wearing a Purdue hoodie right now for people who don't know. They'll like, oh, did you go to Purdue? And then you're like, yeah. And you're like, oh shit, here's the next question. What did you major in? And then everyone's like, oh, that's cool. But in the inside, they're like, what? You went to Purdue and majored in film? You're like, yeah, I did. That's like saying like, I'm from Paris, Texas. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, that's awesome. I think that's a really big success. And having your kids be safe and happy, I think, is a big success. I think that's, success-wise, that might be bigger than anything I've done. I kept my dogs alive. That's the thing. I didn't die from my surgery that I've only been cryptic about. So I'm alive. Guys, the surgery was in my leg. I'm fine. But yeah, no, it was, I think 2018 in a we're not going to get into the news because no one wants to get that depressed on this show. I think for a lot of people, 2018, there's a lot of memes about it where 2018 was like, just like what the hell happened? Like everything was going really cool. And then 2018 happened. Everyone's like, let's put that one behind us. Let's learn from that and move on. And I'm definitely the same way. I mean, there's some good things, some not so good things. Definitely not some not so good things. But I think you just got to learn from that and not let that defeat you. Because 2019 literally, what is it, December 27th, 2018. New Year's is in a couple days. And yeah. Ben, do you have any fun New Year's plans?
No, my kids are going to be coming back from their winter vacation in just a couple days. So basically, I'm going to be spending as much time as I can with them. And I think New Year's, they're going to be with me. And, we're going to try and do some fun things. But with them being toddlers, I don't think they're going to be like up till midnight doing no countdown and like that or anything. So
yeah,
it's just going to be get them to bed and then sit down and I don't know what the hell else I'm going to do.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think maybe they listen. If Nick and Kyle listen, you said you guys listen. If you don't, you won't hear this. But a lot of my friends are busy and have jobs, like adults. And yeah, so a lot of my friends are really busy on New Year's or out of town because of vacations, family, or don't live in Chicago all year round or just go to school in Chicago. So I think New Year's Eve, I'm just going to hang out. And I think New Year's Day, me and a few of my buddies are going to try to go to one of the museums downtown because it's going to be empty. And we've been, like, me and my two buddies, Nick and Kyle, have been trying to, like, coordinate to go to, like, one of these museums for, like, 8.5 months. And for some reason, 3 dudes who are all just, like, fairly free all the time can't put it together to go do something for one day. So that shows my level of organization. And I think the podcast on a bigger scale shows my level of organization as well. But But yeah, I think that'll be cool. Do you have any like goals, like lighthearted kind of goals? I mean, everyone has some deep existential goals for the next year. Do you have any like lighthearted-ish goals for 2019?
I don't know if you would consider this lighthearted, but a real goal, and we talked about this off mic just before the pod, is I'm really hoping to trim down a little bit. I've put on some post-military weight that just naturally comes with sitting in a classroom and not doing anything all day. And, you know, even if I was eating normal, which I do need to cut back on some of the shit that I do eat. But, yeah, I want to get some of this fucking weight off. I want to get down to a normal size for a 6'1" person. I'm not, like, morbidly obese, if anybody's never seen me on that listens. But, like, you know, I could stand to lose a few. So that's that's my big goal for this year, is to get in shape. And for anybody listening, Russell is going to be helping me with that. So I appreciate his advice in the future and his help to make this happen. Yeah.
For anyone wondering, Ben is like in totally fine shape. I think it's one of those, you always are your own worst critic. And I mean, I'm the same way. I think I've mentioned a few times on the pod, I used to be like a fitnessy person back at Purdue and work at the gym. And I'm one of the people who goes to the gym 7 days a week, which is super not healthy. But Ben and I were talking about it, kind of came up organically. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll definitely help you out. Just because I know how hard it can be to start. And for anyone else out there looking for a fitness goal, here's a little fun fact for you. A lot of people join the gym in January, just a thing. Most people actually stop going by February. So if you are going to the gym, even if you go twice a week and you make it past February, hey, you are past the curve. Like, and it takes 10,000 hours to get like good at anything. So everyone sucks at the gym when you first start. I've been going like every day for 6 years. So if you have that goal in mind and that's something you want, 100% you can do it. And I think in the future we should do an episode on that. I think that'd be really interesting. Just like I don't personally like talking about my own body stuff because I've fluctuated weight so much in my life. And I have crippling body dysmorphia. So, yeah, so I think it'd be an interesting thing to talk about on the show. But if anyone has that kind of thing or like getting healthier or doing whatever, you can do it. It's really all about self-control. And that's the hardest thing for most people. So you got this. Anyone listening, I'm out here rooting for you and you can do it. In the last year, I think as one of my successes, I lost 46 pounds, which was pretty cool. Yeah, it was all through me hating myself and being like, I'm not going to eat any carbs or sugar or anything.
Let's flip that. It's you love yourself enough to have made the change that needed to be made.
Yes, that is a much more positive way of saying it. And I wish I thought about it like that in my own head. But in my head, I'm like, you got this. Have you ever seen Big Mouth?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you know the dog, Jay's dog, Ludacris, or Pitbull featuring Ludacris, where he's like in the mirror, he's like, I hate myself. And then at the end, he's like, I'm happy. It's kind of like that, but I'm not at the I'm happy stage yet. It's still at the like, I'm never going to be fit. I'm never going to be fit. I'm like the elliptical, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the most joking sense, but like, yeah. But I think that was the thing. I think 2018, looking back at it as a year, because I was thinking about it before we recorded this show, and I sprung this topic on you for a reason, because I was just like thinking about it while I was like eating earlier, and I was like, if someone asked me honestly what I would say about 2018 as a year, I would just say like a learning experience. I don't think I could say anything positive or negative. I just could say learning experience.
Yeah, I would agree. Without, I've told you some stuff that I'm alluding to here, and I'm going to keep it vague.
Of course,
for the sake of not airing out dirty laundry on the pod. But yeah, I've definitely gone through some things that have been some deep learning experiences and some personal low points this year. But the point is we fight back. We dig ourselves out of a hole that we may, like some people put themselves into, others find themselves inadvertently put into. But the name of the game, I guess, in life is just keep fighting. And I think both of us have probably done that throughout this year. when we've been put into moments of some pretty heavy moments. We'll just keep it at that.
Yeah, 100%. I think some of those moments we definitely share or like just have in common about some things that happened, and I'm sure at some point we will definitely. I mean, for me, I will at some point talk about some of these things I'm alluding to right now on the podcast, but probably not for a bit. And for Ben, your situation is your situation, whatever. And I think it's interesting to talk about on the show because I definitely know people who listen and comment on stuff where they're like, Russell, you swear too much on your podcast. You know what? It's my show. Whatever. If you don't want swearing, go listen to the radio. Sorry. But yeah, and I think eventually I will talk about it because we have the luxury, and anyone who's a guest on the show and friends of the show have the luxury of coming on if they want to and talking about stuff in a very like accepting place, even though the internet's the most toxic place in the universe. But I'm pretty cool about stuff, and like if you ever want to air a grievance on my show, please do it. But like, I'm not getting in trouble for the stuff you say. I'm sorry. I'm distancing myself from that. Not you, Ben, but just in general. Dude, is there like a tornado outside behind you?
It fucking feels like it. It's windy as hell right now, and like the lights in my house keep flickering a little.
Yeah,
bit.
I saw that, and I'm like, dude, there's like a... So, for those of you who are new to the show, Ben and I do this over the internet because Ben and I live in different states. There's a big like pine tree or something behind you, and it looks like it's going to tip over. The one like right above your house there.
Yeah, it's I don't know what kind of tree it is. It's not like an evergreen or anything like that, but yeah, it's mighty windy out right now.
Yeah, it really is. Damn, that's something. I think here it was just raining all day. I don't think I was outside. It was raining all day. It was bad. And I really wanted a white Christmas. Last year we got one. It was crazy.
We did.
So, Ben, I have a question for you. What's your opinion of pitted fruit? I asked someone about this, and I got into a very heated argument about pitted fruit.
I guess I don't really have much of a... What specific pitted fruits are you...
Pitted fruit. Just, technically, I think grapes have pits if you get them like that, don't they?
You can get, like, seedless grapes. And...
Yeah. What is your opinion of fruit with seeds or pits, just in general?
I don't really have much of a yay or nay opinion. I just base my opinions on a fruit, whether it tastes good or not. I like pitted fruits, but whenever someone's like, yo, do you want this plum or do you want this, like, peach? I'm like, dude, that involves work. Because, like, you know that inside there's this, like, hard thing that's, like, sharp and it's going to mess up your mouth. But I'm like, it's so delicious. And you can never gracefully eat, like, a peach. I think... Or an orange. I mean, yeah, like, you got to peel that shit off.
Yeah, there's no, like, sexy way to eat that.
Yeah, but oranges are my favorite fruit.
Oh, really?
All varieties of oranges, whether you're talking, like, mandarins or tangerines or clementines.
Dude, so good.
Yeah, I'm down for an orange any day.
Dude, citrus fruit, incredible. I think, wait, if we're going to get in this, what is my favorite fruit? Okay, technically, an avocado is a fruit, so yes. That is going in there. And technically, tomatoes are fruit as well, but they're just savory fruit. That's why people are weird about them. My favorite fruit. This is a hard one. I really do like watermelon, but you can't have watermelon all year round, which is, it ruins it from the list, that you can't have watermelon all year round. I think if I'm going to have a favorite fruit, I'm just trying to think, if I had like fruit in my fridge, which is the first one I would go for? Maybe strawberries, because strawberries you can like eat, and then like you have a little handle, like the little leaves. Or I like pineapple a lot, but pineapple is another thing that's like, if you buy a pineapple, like a physical full pineapple, that's an ordeal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to like slice it. It's like a full thing. Actually, I love mango, even though do mangoes have pits? Yeah, they definitely have pits. Do they?
I don't know. I don't eat too much mango.
I'm gonna look.
Like if I ever eat mango, it's already in that like pre-sliced like package of assorted fruits.
Yeah,
that you buy from the grocery store.
Let me look. Let's look up mangoes right now. I'm doing it live on the show on my phone.
Okay. But but yeah, I'm a personal fan of oranges, bananas, apples. Like kind of like your staple of like, I guess, children's fruits before they expand into like mangoes or kiwis or stuff like that.
Oh, dude, kiwis are fire, but they also make your mouth tingly. Do they not do that to you?
I don't remember the last time I ate kiwi though.
Oh, dude, kiwis are heat. Also, for some reason, my internet's working for you, but on my phone, it's not.
I'm taking up all that bandwidth.
Dude, I feel like maybe... Okay, mango. We're looking at pictures of mangoes right now on my phone, live on the pod.
You may get a picture of the Saturday Night Live skit of... I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. This was a mid to late 90s Saturday Night Live. Shit, what was his name?
Mango SNL. P.S. Mangoes don't have pits.
Okay.
Oh, this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn it. What's his name?
What is his name?
He was in Night at the Roxbury with Will Ferrell.
Chris
Kattan.
Yeah, Chris Kattan.
Yeah, Chris Kattan.
Yeah, I didn't. I just had to type in mango, then S, and then SNL came up. But, wait, do mangoes not have seeds or anything? What? Yo. What is going on? I am... My gourd is blown by...
Your gourd is blown.
Yeah. You know what else I like? Wait. I was about to say sweet potatoes, but sweet potato is like a tuber, right? No, it's not. Is it?
A sweet potato is...
It's like a root. It's like a carrot.
Yeah.
Dude.
I just checked outside because I remembered I hadn't pulled in my trash can, and my trash can is not on the curb anymore, so it's probably down the road.
Nice. It's also my garbage day. Great. I forgot about that, and it's raining. Have you ever had ube?
I have not.
Do you know what it is?
I do not. What the hell is that?
It's a purple sweet potato. It's it's a Southeast... It's used a lot in Southeast Asia, like in Japanese and Korean and like Filipino dishes. I first had it when I was in Los Angeles because I had this thing called ube ice cream. I'm like, wow, this kind of tastes like vanilla ice cream, but there's like something like funky to it, but not bad funky. It's like there's this other flavor in there. Like, what the hell is that flavor? Like, I couldn't put my like my tongue or my mouth or my finger on like whatever the expression is. I couldn't place what that was. I'm like, this is super, super good. But I'm like, what the hell is that? There's like, it's like if you blind eat something, you're like, okay, part of this is chicken, but there's something else in here that I know I've had before. But yeah, it's essentially like sweet potato ice cream. And it sounds gross on paper. It is so good. And it's fluorescent purple. So it's like Barney colored.
It's good, and kids will love it.
I was about to say Shrek colored, but Shrek isn't purple. But imagine if Shrek was purple. There you go. But did you know they're remaking Shrek?
Why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If I ever get the fortune of becoming a film producer or a studio executive, my first question for a lot of these projects is just going to be why.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the answer is going to be money, but like, is there a demand for another Shrek? I think the demand for Shreks ended after the second one.
Oh, dude, there's a certain group of people online who are big Shrek fans, and
are they like furries for Shrek?
Yeah, dude. If you do know what this is, we're not getting into it. If you don't know what it is, don't look it up right now. Have you ever heard of Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life?
I may have.
Okay, if you don't know, you may have heard of it. Watch it when we're done with this. Guys, if you want to watch something that'll really never make you want to watch Shrek again because a few people who are definitely in college got a hold of animation software, watch Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. There's like 3 parts of it. If you are a kid listening to this, first, why are you listening to this podcast, dude? But second,
go to bed.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening, but do go to bed. Even if it's the middle of the day. Go to bed, dude. Come on. But also, if you are a child or you have a child and you're listening to this podcast, do not show them Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. It is on YouTube. You are very welcome for that. I don't know if it'll make you laugh or freak out. You're welcome. So, yeah, that's all I will say about that. And if you want to, we can review it next week, and you can tell me what your thought about that is.
All right, I'll make that my assignment.
So this year, besides that, going off Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life, do you know what incels are?
Yes.
Okay. So I recently was on Reddit, which is not a good way to start a sentence. I stumbled across a Game of Thrones forum, which was like fine. And then I went down a weird incel rabbit hole, which was not good. And then I'm like, oh no, people actually think like this. That's not good.
Yeah, it's disturbing to say the least. And for anybody that doesn't know, incel is short for incelibate.
Yeah.
And this microcosm of weird, horrible people, basically, it's men.
Yeah.
And they blame women for their own inability to not get sex with anybody.
Yeah, so yeah, it's essentially saying like women are the fault. Women are the reason I can't get laid. Which first is not true. Second, it's probably because you have a real shit personality and you believe that. 3, how about stop being an incel? And you know the guy in Toronto last year, this year, who hit a bunch of people with his car and then was like in this police standoff. He like had a van. He just went down the street and that guy like claimed to be an incel.
Right. Yeah. That's so much has happened this year that it seems like that was forever ago.
Yeah, and that's partially why we won't get in the news side of this year, because it'll be very sad. But yeah, so not all incel people are that aggressive, but there is a dark undertone to incel culture. And I didn't know that was a thing until very recently, because I'd heard the term incel, and I thought it was just like PC master race, kind of like, oh bro, I have a better computer than you, blah, kind of thing. But I did not know it was such an toxic group of people
very
who...
much so.
It's essentially anti-feminism to the max, like to the absolute core of what masculinism, is that what it would be like? It's like
they're like the extreme version of like hashtag not all men or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I've heard of that,
and I think there's a pretty tight correlation between those folks and the Gamergate.
Yes.
Folks.
Which we have talked about on the show.
Yes, we have discussed that. So go back to a past episode, look it up if you're curious about that.
I think it's Video Games Part 2, or maybe it's Video Games Part 1.
It's one of those video game episodes.
And we get into Gamergate. If you don't know, look up that episode. And we're not just plugging ourselves. It's a really complicated topic that we talk about for like an hour. But yeah, there is definitely correlation there. And that's something I learned in 2018, that's a real group of people who actually exist and genuinely believe that. Not cool. But I think, what was I was talking about Shrek and how Ube isn't green.
Right. Wow, we went somewhere crazy with that.
But yeah, on fruit, you know what? What's your least favorite fruit? Mine's banana. I hate bananas.
I like bananas. I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's a few fruits that I have not tried, so I can't form an opinion on them. But every time I try to just throw in a couple of blueberries or something, like, I'm disappointed by them.
Interesting. Okay.
So I don't think I hate them, but it's always like, I guess I like generic blueberry flavoring on certain foods. But then when I eat a real blueberry, it's like, oh, wow, this is disappointing. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question going off of blueberries. Raspberries aren't blue. Why is blue raspberry a flavor? Because there's not... Blueberry is a flavor, raspberry is a flavor, but blue raspberry is a thing, but there's no such thing as a blue raspberry.
It sounds to me like they threw in a artificial flavor with raspberry. Just to sell some like junk food, like if you have like blue raspberry flavored yogurt or something like that.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, because I was just thinking about that when you said blueberry, and like I love raspberries, but I'm like, I think there's no such thing as a blue raspberry. There's blackberries, which are kind of blue.
Yeah, they're like the darkest level of blue, I would think.
Yeah, and I mean like I know certain cultures in the world used blackberries and other berries for like paint to get like the color blue, like, but yeah, there's no such thing as a blue raspberry. If someone out there knows the actual origin of why blue raspberry is a flavor besides what Ben said, which is probably the right answer, please message us, because this is something I've never thought about, and now I won't be able to stop thinking about it until someone gives me an answer. But you know what else I realized this year? That is Ben. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You're
you're
paused.
Yeah,
you're frozen.
Okay.
It's all good. You know what else I realized this year? That we talked about in the last episode, the Christmas one. I don't like social media.
I get that. It's almost a necessity in our lives right now, which I know there's certain people out there that do live without social media presence, and good for them. But for a lot of us, like for me, hell, I get a lot of my news from social media.
Yeah.
And I stay in contact with a lot of people through social media, but yeah, I don't like it at all.
No, it definitely, I deleted my own personal Twitter, and now I only have the See What Sticks one, which technically you also have. So I deleted my own Twitter, and yeah, I don't know. I think, I don't know what it is about social media this year that really got under my skin. I mean, there's one individual who you always see on social media that you don't want to need to see on social media that's always tweeting. That aggravates me. But besides that, I don't know. Something about social media this year has seemed more toxic than in years previous.
Yes, and I think that's the symptom is not the word I want to say or use, but that is sure, we'll go with symptom, even though it's not the right word, just for the sake of me.
Side effect?
Side effect, there we go. Yeah, I think that is a side effect and a result of said person that is on social media all the time. Because this person is divisive, you have your opinions towards him, for him, whatnot. And I think people use the anonymity of the internet as well, and just the distance and safety of the internet to fully express their opinions and, contribute to that toxicity of social media.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's so, I don't know, maybe some of the people listening, like my dad doesn't have any social media at all. And 1, impressive. 2, I don't know how you do it, Dad. I mean, he has email and stuff and a phone, obviously. And I know he listens to this. Hey, Dad. And my mom, I think, only has a Facebook, but she never uses it. And I do know my mom listens to this. But, that's impressive. Like, if I didn't have this podcast with you kind of thing, if we didn't have this, there's a big chance I wouldn't have a Twitter at all or really have an Instagram.
I might still keep Twitter. Mostly, I don't actually actively tweet out that much. It's once in a blue moon, but I do follow mostly like comedians and entertainers.
Okay.
And some people use Twitter as a platform to put out, a quick joke or something. And I do get some enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, that side, I do like the positivity, tweeting out jokes, some social awareness things and campaigns that can start through Twitter, I think are really cool. And I think something really special about the internet. But I think a lot of things on Twitter, it's like what you're saying, like there's this anonymity, like the safety behind a keyboard that make people the absolute worst. You know what? The only social media I don't think I would remove ever is Snapchat, because I use it to talk to people all the time. But that's not even really, I mean, it is social media in the same way email is, because it is social and it is media, but you don't really have a profile on Snapchat. You know what I mean?
Right. You can post your stories or whatever, but that's the extent of it outside of just the quick, here's what I'm doing right now. Here's my thoughts on this right now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I basically, let's see. Let's go in my Snapchat right now, guys. My Snapchat score is probably way higher than I'd like it to be. And what your Snapchat score is just how many snaps I think you've sent in the course of having Snapchat. So I think I downloaded Snapchat in 2013, right when it came out. because I heard about it in 2013 and instantly downloaded it because a bunch of my friends had it. So I have 58,646. So I have 58,646 snaps that I've sent, or that's like what my score is. And then my top people, I'm not going to read them out on the show, but I think the people I Snapchat, like, let me just take a picture to see. I Snapchat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. That's about it out of, like, I don't know, my 300 or 400 contacts on my phone. And, like, Ben, you're one of those people who just consistently get Snapchats from me that are kind of just random BS, or I'll just talk to you on there. But other than that, I maybe post a story once every 6 weeks, if that, maybe even less.
I also have a Snapchat, obviously, like, because you just said, but I don't use it a whole lot. Like, I enjoy, like, looking at people's snaps that they send me. But yeah, I even though I don't send a whole lot back to anybody, so if anybody's listening that does snap with me, and specifically you, like, I do sincerely look at them and enjoy them. It's not like I just, like, say, whatever. I'm just not the type that sends something back all too often.
Yes. And I think a lot of people, it's weird. That's become, like, a thing recently where people get offended if you don't snap them back with, like, a witty reply. Like, I'll send people Snapchats of, like, it's pretty on brand for me to send one from the gym, or of me, like, cooking, or of my dogs, or maybe a movie that I'm watching. That's about all I snap. And if someone doesn't reply, I'm like, okay, cool, they opened it and they saw it, because it's kind of like, oh, hey, this is what I'm up to, because they do the same thing. And I know some people get, like, offended if you don't send them something back. I'm like, dude, how do I reply to that? Like, what do I say? Cool?
Right.
Like,
and those seem like the same people that get all up in a tizzy, like, about certain people's, like, text message replies.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I don't feel the need to reply anything other than okay or yes. Like, I don't need to expand that into some drawn out, unnecessarily, like, redundant reply. Sometimes an okay, yes or no is all that is needed.
Yeah, and, like, most of the people I snap or text to, I do that same thing. Like, occasionally I'll get into a legit conversation with someone over text, and it'll be a few sentences each time, or maybe a sentence and a half. But a lot of times it's like, hey, like for Ben and I, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Good. Okay, cool. Hey, do you want to do the podcast? Yes. When are you free? Cool. Like that kind of thing, where it's pretty, like, it's just like a tool for us to communicate with each other. But I will show Ben, I know this is bad radio, I'm not going to mention anyone's name on here, but one of my friends and I'll show you our text string. Like, it is legitimately, like, we send each other, like, pages of information.
At that point, just have a phone call.
I would. I'll tell you after the show what's up. But this person is currently out of the country, and
okay.
I can't exactly do a FaceTime call with this person, just because they're also on, like, a time difference, and like, it's just, like, weird to do that. So texting is easier. But yeah, like, it's one of those. I think that's one of very few situations where I actually actively text. Half the time I'll reply from my watch. Like, I'll talk to my watch and be like, okay, cool, ha ha ha. Or like, that sounds awesome, what time? Sort of thing. Yeah. And very rarely I'll do that, but usually I'd rather FaceTime someone. And I think I'm going to get into that with you, Ben. Okay. People look at you crazy when you call them out of the blue. What do you think about that?
Like, if you FaceTime them or a phone call?
Yes. Either one.
Oh, okay. Usually, if someone gives me a phone call, my first initial thought is, okay, what's wrong? Or is something serious happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, because, you know, most people, and like my parents have even gotten to the point where it's like, just text if you need something.
Yeah. There's
no need to call. So, like, if I see my dad giving me a phone call, like, I probably unnecessarily think, like, oh, okay, what's up? Is something serious is going on. Like, he has to speak to me over the phone. And pretty much every time, it's nothing like that. He's just like, something that would be quicker to just say on the phone than type out long, like, drawn out bits of information. I don't get a whole lot of FaceTimes outside of you. because it's just, like the easiest way for us to do this show.
Yes. I think, yeah, I do agree with that, with the parent thing especially. And yeah, for FaceTimes, I think I get FaceTimes from you for the show. Excuse me. And then occasionally from my parents or one of my good buddies, he'll FaceTime me pretty frequently. And that's just easier for both of us because it's like one of those text strings where you're going to text each other 15 paragraphs anyway. So might as well call me. But yeah, I've gotten friends who got pissed at me for just calling them instead of texting them. And I'm like, dude, one, this is way more time efficient. Two, it's just in general easier. And three, it gets my point across in just a much more simple way. And like, dude, just answer the phone and we can get this whole conversation or all of the stuff that we need to say done in like 35 seconds. Whereas if we did the same like exchange over text, it would take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they've been like, but just text me, bro. And I'm like, dude, you don't even need to talk. Just listen to me say this. So like, say you're coming over later. Just like, hey, if you're coming over later, literally just park in my driveway. You can come in through the back door. If I'm like not there to answer the door, I'm probably upstairs. Just open the door kind of thing. But over text, it would be like, hey, what's up? Hey, like that whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like that too? Like if someone just like say instead of texting you, I called you, would you get pissed? Because you're like,
no, I would never get pissed at someone for calling me. If someone knew that I was in a situation where it's not ideal for me to take a phone call,
yeah,
and they still phone called anyway, like I might get annoyed, but I would never like straight up like lash into someone for calling me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you agree because I thought that was weird that this person got upset that I not like upset like, dude, I hate you. It's like, why'd you call me? I'm like, because it's a phone. Sorry that I'm an old person, but like it is literally called an iPhone, and the one of the key functionalities about it is to make phone calls, which I just did. But yeah, I think that's on that, and maybe that does make me sound like an old person or intolerant or something, but whatever. But going back to social media, how long do you think you could go taking the news and YouTube and everything into account that you do in your like virtual life? How long do you think you could take a social media diet for, like, without having it hinder your life in some way? Like, say you and your kids and everyone else was able to be contacted through text message or phone call, and you still had a TV for the news, but you couldn't watch YouTube, you can't do Netflix. How long do you think you realistically could go for without using the internet?
If we're judging this, so it's the internet in general.
Yeah, internet and social media, so no YouTube, because they kind of,
I guess it depends on the day of the week. The internet is a social necessity now, like no matter what, because like I need it for school, I need it for other things. So like I don't know if I had to go without and try and live with and try and make it without internet. I don't know how long I could do that without like getting to the point where I'm like, I don't know what the hell I can do. Because like, with Purdue, they have like Blackboard or the like kind of student portal for checking stuff like financial aid and stuff like that. Like all of that is dependent on the internet. So it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now that I cannot access any of this?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about the school thing. So I guess like, let's say it like this, like in a vacuum kind of thing, like, you know what I mean by that? Like in a vacuum or in a perfect scenario where you didn't have school or like your job kind of responsibilities where it was like, do you know what I mean? Like how long do you think you could?
So basically like the internet is for recreational.
Yes. In a recreational sense, like, yeah, of course you need it for Blackboard. Of course you need it for your job to check your email. That kind of stuff you're allowed to do. But for anything recreational or for your own personal enjoyment, how long could you go without it?
Probably longer than what I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I would want to be without it for too long.
Yeah.
Just because, like, that's one of the first things I do in the morning is just like, all right, what's going on in the world? Let's see what kind of news is broke like over the past few hours that the sun has been up or something like that.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. This makes me sound bad. I probably could do a week. Because, like, let's say if I go on vacation, I don't really go on social media for a week. I could probably go 10 days. I think that's the longest I could realistically go without looking at, like, the news or something like that, without being hindered in some way. Like, apart from, like, posting this podcast, I don't really think I could really keep up with conversations and talk to people without the use of that tool.
Yeah, and also just like cutting yourself off like that, it gets you like out of the loop of like the world and what's going on. And I hate that feeling. Like, hell, I don't like missing a day of class and then coming back and like, okay, I have no clue what was discussed. I am so out of the loop. It gives me anxiety. Like, so just like cutting yourself off from what's been happening throughout the world, just kind of like, and then coming back and trying to catch up. That's not a good feeling.
No, it's not. And it's a really like disorienting feeling. And I think, I don't want to get too Black Mirror about this, but I think there's something to be said for like inadvertent mind control. Just because like we've become so dependent. I'm not trying to sound like a doomsday or anti-internet because I mean, the internet's the only reason this podcast can physically exist, and the only reason a lot of things can happen. But I think there's like something to be said for that. And I don't know, like Ben, you have young kids. What is your stance on getting kids phones? Because when I used to swim coach and coach for stuff and do things like that, I had kids who were on the swim team I coached for, who were like 7, who had iPhones.
I don't see myself getting my kids phones at that age.
Mm-hmm.
I guess once they get into, extracurricular activities that they may need a phone in order to like contact me to like, hey, time to pick me up, or something like we got out early, or I need this, or something like that. I'll think about it, but my stance on it is going to mostly depend on whether I think that they're ready for the responsibility and everything that comes with owning or with like having a phone. Whether I think they're going to abuse that privilege, whether I think they're going to be using it for like some pretty bad shit. Like if I have that sort of feeling about them at all, like I'm going to stop from I'm not going to get them a phone. And they can bitch and complain about it all they want, but you can just say, "Hey, a lot of people lived without phones before. You've lived up to this point without a phone."
Yeah, I think definitely. And I mean, I don't have kids or anything, but I don't know. I think it'd be scary just because, like, when I was a kid, smartphones didn't really become a big thing that like you needed or had until I was like a senior in high school. That's kind of like when everyone started getting like actual like iPhones and stuff. I bought my first iPhone, I think, the beginning of my senior year of high school.
Okay. I didn't have a smartphone until I was probably 22. Like before then, like, yeah, the first few generations of iPhone had already been out, but like I just had a normal, either like a flip phone or, something that just did like, texting, basic internet capabilities.
A feature phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think, Ben, your age. So you probably got it right a year or two before I got my smartphone for the first time. Because, ish. Yeah, around that. I'm just trying to do the math between our age differences. But yeah, I think it's weird that, like, I mean, it's not weird. Like, before I had my iPhone, my first iPhone, it, like, I didn't, like, you don't need it. Like, I mean, I had computers at my house and stuff. But, like, now that I have a smartphone, I've been thinking about challenging myself because we have, like, our old Motorola Razrs in our house. Just like we have a bunch of old backup phones, and I have like old backup iPhones just around that we have sitting kind of in a drawer, just in case someone's phone gets broken, it gets splashed.
Yeah.
Even though iPhones are kind of waterproof now, but still, like, you never know. Like, you put it in the dryer by accident, and your phone's toast, and you can't get another one for like 48 hours because you have to go to the Apple store or whatever. I've been thinking about just putting my SIM card in like one of those old phones for a day to see if I could do it. I think the biggest one for me, the holdup, is music. Like, I have Spotify on my phone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If I didn't have that, like, I don't drive very much anymore. I used to drive more, but like certain life circumstances have changed. And I don't need to drive very much anymore, so I guess I don't need it. But like, if I don't have my podcasts and I don't have my music, I'm going to be very grouchy. And I think that's probably the thing. You can look at what app you use the most on your phone. I think Spotify is the top used app on my phone by like 100 miles.
Mine was most likely Spotify, followed closely by either this. It's a Reddit app that I have. It's not the official one. I use this other one it's called Apollo.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a hell of a lot better than the official Reddit app. And Stitcher Premium, which I listen to all my podcasts on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, definitely. I know I use Overcast for my podcasts, which is just it's same thing, but it's just a different app. And then I use Spotify, and then I think probably the second after Spotify would probably be YouTube, and then podcasts, pretty close. Because most of the time when I watch YouTube, I frankly will do it on my computer, and we have an Apple TV downstairs in my house, and you can control that from your iPhone, so I'll just stream it to the TV if I ever want to watch videos, because it's just a bigger screen.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like that. I mean, I do watch YouTube on my phone, like just like everybody else, but yeah, I think Spotify would be the hardest thing for me to not have around when I'm just like doing anything, because it's such a creature comfort to have that. It's like, oh, I'm just cooking, or I'm walking the dogs, or I'm literally doing anything, folding laundry. I'm like, let's put on some music. And if I didn't have that, I think I would probably go a little bit insane.
Yeah. Yeah, we've just become so dependent on like two or three. Most people, it's probably 2 or 3 apps that they use. Mm-hmm. Even though we probably both have like dozens of apps on our phone. Which, yeah, there's some that I've maybe used once and I've just never thought about deleting them because I don't use them anymore. Yeah. And some you may use every now and then. But yeah, there's like 2 or 3 that I use every single day.
Yeah. I'm counting all the apps on my phone. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. I'm guessing I have like 200 apps on my phone, if not more. So, this is bad radio, but Ben, I can show you. So my phone, I only have one page, so everything is in folders. I'm really organized on my phone, even though a lot of things have notifications. But every app on my phone, or every like dial, or every like, what would you call these? Like every little app placement spot, or any of the tiles. Folder? Yeah, folder tiles. I only have a few apps that aren't in like things. So I have the clock app, I have the calendar app, I have this thing called Filmic Pro instead of the normal camera app that I use. I have settings, files, so I can transfer podcasts to my phone or do something, Snapchat, and calculator. Those are the only apps on my phone that aren't in a folder. And then at the bottom, like the bottom bar, what's on your bottom bar of your phone? Like the text, phone call.
I have contacts, phone, text, and FaceTime.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's interesting. I have text, phone, Spotify, and the browser I use on the internet, which is called Cake.
Okay.
So I have the internet, Spotify, phone calls, and texts as mine. But yeah, everything I have is categorized to like a meticulous detail. And whenever I give anyone my phone, if they need it, they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, how do I find anything? And I'm like, oh, it's so easy. And they're like, dude, it's not. It's so complicated on your phone. But
what's the app that had like 5,000 notifications?
Oh, it's my email app, because I have my old email from the place I used to work at. I have my normal email. I have the podcast email. And then I have my email that I have connected to my Facebook. So there's 4 different emails in there. That all are like together. So there's 5,121 unread emails, but a lot of them are just from like Apple. It's like, you uploaded a new podcast, you downloaded this app, you blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it's a bunch of invoices. then I'm like,
I could not see that on my phone. Like I have to, if there's a notification, like it distracts me from what I was going to do, and I'm like, oh, gotta hit that, gotta clear it out.
oh, I have 34 unread like calls on my phone here, and I have like one text that I'll have to answer. But like most people, when they see my phone, they get so upset, and I'm like, honestly, it doesn't really affect me that much. Like with my voicemails, my calls, I just won't delete them if I need them. So yeah. But that's a thing.
Let me ask, kind of rounding out our end of the year stuff that we've been talking about. What, if you can name like one or two or three, a handful, what's been some of the best movies or television shows that you've enjoyed throughout the year?
Okay, so you're implying that they came out this year, right?
I just had myself muted, sorry. Yes, in the calendar year of 2018.
Okay, the best movies and stuff that I have seen in 2018. Honestly, I know this is going to upset some people. The best movie that I have seen in 2018, I've seen a lot of the movies. Like I saw Mid-90s and a bunch of the other ones, like indie-ish ones that are probably going to get nominated for Academy Awards. As of right now, the movie that, like, maybe it's because it's recency bias that I saw it so recently, Into the Spider-Verse may be the best movie I've seen this year.
100% agree.
Okay, cool.
It is the best animated movie I've ever seen.
Okay, yes.
It's the best Spider-Man movie there's ever been.
Yes.
I would say top 3 superhero movies of all time. It is such a brilliantly good movie.
Okay.
I cannot stress people enough to see this movie.
So, okay, you know what? We're going to get into spoilers about Into the Spider-Verse. We're going to talk about this because I want to. So, Ben, everything we're about to say from here on out is spoilers. So, I'm sorry. After 57 minutes, spoiler time. So, this movie I do consider the best comic book movie that has ever been made. I say that because people are going to be like, what about The Dark Knight? What about Nolan stuff? Those aren't really comic book movies. They are movies that are based off of comic book characters. There's a difference.
True. Yeah, there's a thin line, but there's a line.
Yes. The Nolan movies, by far, hands down, are the best. But everything else, like even the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, those old ones, are kind of in that Nolan-averse, where they're somehow different. They're so detached from comics because they're so much more grounded in reality that they don't count. So those are not being factored into this call. But I'm talking about the new DC movies, the X-Men movies, the Fantastic Four movies, all the other Spider-Man movies, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe when I'm talking about this. So that's what I'm referring to. So, yeah, Into the Spider-Verse is by far the best. It is incredible. Like, holy shit. Like, when I went into it with such low-ish expectations, even though I heard it was good. I think that's the best way to go into it, is with not bad low expectations, but being like, it's an animated film. But it's filmed, or it's rendered at, I think, 12 frames per second, or 15 frames per second, not 24. So the whole movie looks like a comic book.
Yes, and it's constantly popping up with, like, the normal comic book sort of flares, like thought bubbles or sound effects put into words like pow or kablam or something like that. The last 30 minutes of this film are so gorgeous as far as like colors, visual effects, and action. It's I don't know if any movie's going to top it for a long time. It is a movie that is just so brilliantly done, brilliantly voice acted. The writing is top notch. Yeah, like I have not felt like as just absolute gaga over a movie like this in a long time. Same.
I 100% agree with everything that you said there, and I'm just like, it's just incredible that like what they were able to achieve. The animation style is just, I don't know what they have like the little, there's a word for it, you know, like the little dots they use in comic books in older comic books to like do shading, and they have like the cross stitching. They use that sparingly throughout the film in certain places, and then like their eyes and in certain like reflections that really make it comic booky. And the movie's very colorful. There's like, it's very blue and red and purple. It's like amplified.
Yeah.
And it's just, I know this isn't a very good review or synopsis of the film just because there's a lot of things that you can't put into tangible words that the film is able to achieve. It's really, really something kind of remarkable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't have the vocabulary to properly express like what they do on screen, but people should go see it while it's in theaters.
Yes.
While it's still in theaters, because it's a brilliant way to experience this movie.
Yes, it is a film that you need to see. You don't need to see it in a theater. But if you see it in a theater, it is the way that film is meant to be watched. Where a lot of films, yeah, they're good in theaters. But this film, there's something special about it because of the animation style. Seeing it with an audience, because the movie, I think it's only rated PG. It's not even PG-13.
Right, correct.
But there's something about it that it is a kid's film, but it's not. It is more of a movie for people in their 20s than I would say for kids.
But, yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And you can tell it was made by people that love this character of Spider-Man and all the iterations it takes, whether it's Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and then like the several multiverse Spider-Mans, like Spider-Ham, John Mulaney voices was hilarious. Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Noir, and Penny Parker. Yeah, like you can tell the absolute love and appreciation that the filmmakers have for this character and universe put into the film itself. And I think they wanted to make this for people that have a deep appreciation for Spider-Man, and also for those people that I think it's for everybody. You might not be a super fan of Spider-Man, you might be a complete new person, but it's not so deep of a story and lore that you would feel like lost if you're getting into Spider-Man for the first time.
Yes.
I think this would be a movie that would absolutely make someone a huge fan if they weren't already.
And I think the reason that you wouldn't be lost there's a few reasons. One, because it's a very easy story to get into, but two, the way the movie opens up is it opens up with a breaking the fourth wall, exposition thing where each time a new spider person is introduced, they give you their backstory as if it was a comic book.
Yes.
And the opening one is so funny because they reference all the other different versions of Spider-Man, which shows that this movie is the thing that connects all the other different Marvel universes. And like there's like the upside down kiss, there's the train stopping scene, there's the him punching the car, the really cheesy dancing, and it's so good. And that original Peter Parker is Chris Pine, is whose voice that is.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and then the other Peter Parker is the guy from New Girl.
Yeah.
And he essentially plays that same character.
Yeah,
but it works.
Yeah, like I said, everyone that does a voice in this is phenomenal. It's all played perfectly.
Yeah. Jake. Yeah.
Just go see it, people.
Yeah, Jake Johnson Spider-Man.
If you pause this podcast and go see it right now.
Exactly. Yeah, but Jake Johnson Spider-Man, I know would be me if I was Spider-Man. That's how my life would pan out if I became Spider-Man. It's just like, yeah, you're good at this thing, but you totally blew it.
Yeah, you're getting old, and everything is starting to suck now.
Yeah, like you're so jaded, but you're so good at it. Like even when this is spoilers, but even when they're in this facility stealing stuff, he's just like, obviously it's going to be about the end of the world. Now, obviously the password is this. Like he knows it already. He's like cocky, but he's like just so good at it. He's like allowed to be cocky, and he's like a little out of shape, and he's a little bit of an asshole, but he's like a good guy. Like when I saw that version of Peter, the Peter B. Parker, I'm like, okay, if I was any of these, I'd be that version of Peter Parker, because I'm like, that's the kind of my personality where it's like, there's just like this side of you that's just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm good at this, but I am too lazy to do this thing.
And another thing I appreciated about it was how through most of the film, after Miles is bitten by the Spider 42, that he's apprehensive about doing this, like about becoming a hero at all. Like he most of the time he's wondering like, what am I getting into? Like, I'm not a hero. I don't have the ability to like be like these other spider people and, you know, kick ass and, you know, do it flawlessly. He knows that he is just a teenager way in over his head, and they express that like perfectly up until, like, you know, most people could probably guess that yes, he does find like his heroic side within him before the climax of the movie.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that a lot of the movie is him learning how to be, like, all the other Spider-Mans kind of skip that. The whole movie until the last 15 minutes is him learning to be Spider-Man. And yeah,
failing many times at what he's trying to do.
Yes, and I think, okay, the Uncle Ben thing in Spider-Man, they address that a few times, the Uncle Ben side. I think in a lot of ways, the Miles Morales, who is the new Spider-Man, his motivation makes almost more sense than Peter Parker's.
I agree with that, yeah.
So spoilers, there's a bad guy in the trailers who's the Prowler, who's incredibly well voiced by Mahershala Ali. And this character, the Prowler, is actually in the Marvel universe. He's played by Donald Glover in the Spider-Man Homecoming. It's the same character.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's Miles Morales' uncle is a bad guy, and Miles Morales sees him as his uncle, but also realizes he's a bad guy, and his uncle gets killed in front of him. And so part of it is Miles being like, I want to be a superhero like my uncle, but a better version of what he tried to be. Like, he doesn't want to go down the same path, so he has this thing inside of him that's like, okay, I know I can do this, but I know I have to do it the right way. Whereas, like, the normal Peter Parker has the Uncle Ben thing, of course, and he has Aunt May on his side, but the moral compass is a little different there, and the reason the moral compass is there is different.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it. Yeah, I'm glad that we both decided that. Like you said, it might be a bit of because it's the last movie we've both probably seen.
Yeah.
In recent memory, but like, I don't think this movie's going to be like just kind of fading out of my mind anytime soon.
Yes, I really want to see it again.
Yeah, it's definitely an instant buy when it comes out on Blu-ray for me, and I can't wait to show my kids it as well. Yeah,
I think this is a really good movie that you can show your kids, because there's nothing in it that's really scary. There's nothing in it that's bad in any way, but it's one of those movies that I went to with one of my buddies, like, neither of us are kids. We went to it as like adults, and I think everyone in our theater, we had a fairly busy theater. It was probably like 50% capacity, because we went like on a Wednesday at like 3 p.m. Because we're weird and we have nothing else to do. So we went then, but I think most of the people in the theater were like adult couples. There was a few kids, but for a kids movie, there was a lot more adults there.
Yeah, I want to say I went and saw it last Saturday afternoon, and yeah, a few kids, but a lot of grown-ass people that were there to see it. So, and I went alone because I'm alone and have no friends. No, basically I just say I have nothing else to do.
Oh, okay,
and, like, let's do it.
I have a question for you before we get back a little bit more into Spider-Man and a few other things I want to talk about. What is your stance about going to the movies alone?
I do it all the time. I'm all for it.
Okay, cool. Because I do it too, and I mentioned it to my parents because we were supposed to see a movie on Christmas Eve, and there was a whole thing where the movie theater was closed and one wasn't supposed to be. Whole debauchery. But they kind of looked at me like I'm crazy that I go to movies alone. Not in a bad way, but they're like, what? Or maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I'm like, yeah, like when you're at a movie, the only time you're ever talking to somebody is before you get into the movie. And then when you leave, you talk to people. But if not, like after the movie's done, you can just text people or call someone. And it's the same thing. Because when you're in the theater, you're not speaking to anybody, which is why I think movies are bad dates. But yes.
I guess I can see value in going with someone in order to have that sort of immediate post-film like shared experience to where you can discuss what you just saw, that kind of thing. So like I've enjoyed some movie dates before where, right after we get out of the movie, we're like, yeah, let's talk about what we just saw. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why? And plus us being movie people,
yes,
I have conversations with other people about movies. Sometimes that has been with people that don't enjoy movies as much as I do, so it becomes awkward very fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the I see zero problem with going to see a movie by yourself. It's my way of getting away.
Yeah. It's the same. I think it's just a longer version of watching like a YouTube video. Movies, of course, are very different, but it's the same kind of mentality where, like, I don't show everyone all the YouTube videos I watch or all the Netflix things I watch. The only difference, about going to the actual cinema is that it's a different location that you're going to. It's not your own home. And I think that's what people get weirded out about. But I'm like, I've gone to get food by myself before. I've gone to like the store before by myself. It's essentially the same kind of thing. And I know there's a stigma around that, but like, you know what? I just enjoy doing that. And I have friends who can't go to the movies by themselves. That's totally fine. But I think it is because we're movie people and we just see it a little differently.
Yeah.
And okay, so back to the Spider-Verse before we move on. What did you think about so not to get like too into it, even though it is spoilery, it's kind of hard to explain. There's different Spider-Men from different Spider-Verses that all come together. What did you think about all of them having different animation styles?
I really liked that.
Okay, cool.
I thought it was kind of necessary, especially for like Spider-Man Noir, voiced awesomely by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Ham's more like Looney Tunes cartoony animation style was very much appreciated. Like anytime he was on screen, like I was one of the only people in the theater just cracking my ass up because I love John Mulaney. He's an hilarious comedian, but it's like seems like the perfect voice for Spider-Ham as well. And
there was a line in the movie that made me laugh so much, where at the end where he's like, "So long, folks," because he's a pig, and Miles Morales says to the other Spider-Man, like, "Are we allowed to say that?" Because Warner or Sony has some sort of thing with Warner Brothers with something else where they're allowed to use Looney Tunes characters. There's some sort of legal thing with it, so they are allowed to say that.
Okay.
That's like, there was kind of like poking fun at it, and I don't know exactly what the legal loophole gray area thing is, but when he said that, and Miles Morales like almost pulled a Deadpool and said like, "Wait, is this legally allowed?" That made me laugh so much because like no one else in the theater caught that tiny little just dumb reference to a thing, and I'm like, that's hilarious. And I think the funny Spider-Man Noir thing where he can't see in color because he's from a black and white universe is they play on that so well. And like there's a Rubik's Cube joke that comes up a few times, and then like one or two other things where he can't tell what color it is because he only sees in black and white. It's super funny.
Yes, and then Penny Parker with her like sort of anime style animation was awesome.
Yeah. Did you know the lead singer? I don't know his name, just because I wasn't ever a fan of this band. The lead singer of the band My Chemical Romance and another guy created Penny Parker.
Did they?
Yeah, they wrote the comic book that she's from. So when they show her comic, when they slap down a comic book on the table where they're like, okay, my backstory. His name is in it, and so is the other creator, because that's the picture of their actual origin comic, but there's certain things altered about it for legal reasons.
Sure.
But I don't know his name, but he's the lead singer from My Chemical Romance and then a comic book artist did a run of this alternate Spider-Man-verse thing for the like Spider-Man, this Enter the Spider-Verse comic series, and these two individuals were asked to do one. So yeah, that's who created that. That's why it's a little like off and weird and strange, is because a non-traditional comic book person wrote it.
That's cool. That's cool that they incorporated that into the movie as well.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to talk about the part of the movie that made me cry.
Oh no.
There's a Stan Lee cameo.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that had me a little bit teary too.
So I have a question for you. I don't know the answer, and I don't want to look it up, and I'm sure I will find out the answer. It's not like I don't want to look it up because I don't want to, but I don't want to just because I'm like, oh, what if I'm wrong? You know what I mean? Like, what if my theory is wrong? And it's not like a bad thing. Like, so there's a scene where Miles Morales is in a comic book store buying an item, and the cashier is Stan Lee. And it's essentially like him saying, I'm going to tear up thinking about it, where he's like, we're all going to miss Spider-Man, but we all can be the hero if we choose to be. Do you think that line was changed after his death and they used a quote by him from an interview? Or do you think that line was initially in the film?
I really don't know. It seems almost like perfectly bittersweet, that exact line, because he says something like, we're all gonna miss him, and the camera in quotes, or the shot of is pretty much directly on Stan Lee when he says we're all gonna miss him, and that was the line that I was like, oh Jesus man, you're gonna make me fucking cry in the middle of a children's comic book movie. I don't know if they changed that or not.
That's why I don't want to look it up, because maybe it was originally like that, because he then is like, you know what, you can be the hero too, even when he's gone. And like, I started actually crying, because I'm like, I don't know, you and I are both very creative people and in a creative field, and pretty progressive people. And Stan Lee was very progressive and like created the X-Men because it was like a metaphor for racism, and created all these characters because they showed like disenfranchised groups, you know? And showed that you can be a hero no matter where you're from. And he's like the like god of the like geek sort of thing. And when he died, that's like a huge piece of culture that died. Like Steve Ditko died, he died, and then a few other really famous comic book artists. And that's like kind of like the golden age, like the Mount Rushmore of comic book artists are gone.
Yeah. And I don't really think this is much of a spoiler, but for people that do want to go see the movie, there's a very, very lovely quote, or
yes,
what's the word I'm looking for? A tribute to Stan Lee right like before the credits start rolling.
Yes,
it's a very sweet little dedication to him.
It's him and Steve Ditko. It's like 2 sentences.
Oh, yes, and Steve Ditko.
Yeah, it's like something, it's like one sentence is by one of them, the other sentence is by other one, but they like quote both of them, because I think it was like in an interview or something, but it just says like, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, no matter what happens, you can be the hero, and you don't need a comic, you don't need to have a pen, you don't need to have a cape. If you're a good person, you're a hero. And that, I don't know, like the message of the film was better than most comic book movies. And I think it's because there wasn't any expectation for it, so there wasn't any pressure. And so no one was really thinking about this movie or looking into it. Like, people saw the trailer like 2 years ago, which that shot from the end of the movie where Miles Morales is jumping off the building, but they invert it so it looks like he's flying into the air. Holy shit. That is so cool. And, I don't think people expect anything, so they just took their time and they just made something incredible. Because there's no pressure. Like, you can paint the best picture in the universe if no one's rushing you.
Right, and it's not like this was part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a mostly Sony thing with in association with Marvel.
Yeah.
So like they weren't under the pressure of having to release like the next Spider-Man movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I have zero doubt that next one, whatever, Spider-Man Far From Home, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
I have zero doubt that that's going to be a quality film.
Yes.
But like, you know,
it's different than this.
Yeah. Disney and Marvel have their schedule of movie releases pat down, or it is down solid right now. So it's kind of like, okay, you guys get this ball rolling. Here's when your movie needs to be like finished by.
Yeah.
And in Sony, they had their time like, okay, let's make a quality product here, or let's make an outstanding product that's going to blow people's expectations away.
And yeah, I completely agree. And I think that this film showed a few things. One, that animation needs to step its game up. Two, you can make a really compelling story about people when they're superpowers. And I know Black Panther showed us that, and I know Iron Man has showed us that, and I know Infinity War has showed us that. But this is something a little different. And it can make cartoons really humanized in a very different way than Disney has ever done. And I think they just out-Pixar'd Pixar.
I think so too.
And up until I saw this movie, I thought Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson should win Best Animated Feature in the Academy Awards. I now am wrong. Into the Spider-Verse should win because no one has ever seen something like this. And people are like, well, it's just animated. No, there's something about it. I don't know we talked about it, but I don't know what it is. Something about it is so cool. And the soundtrack for this, holy shit.
That'd be like if someone was like, "Oh, it's just animated." That'd be like saying, "Oh, it's just animated," about the first time that like Toy Story came out.
Yes,
it's changed the game. Like I don't know if people or if like future animated films are going to use like this sort of comic book style if it's associated with a comic book story, or if they're going to try different things with the animation styles, but this has definitely set a bar as far as like what the possibilities that animation can do, and anything less than this is going to just be it's not going to be trash, but it's going to not look good in comparison to Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, I really, really, really agree with that, and I just I can't say enough positive things about this. I was looking at some notes. I can't say enough positive things. And what I said before, the soundtrack for this film, I have it on my workout playlist now. One, it's interesting because it's a lot of hip-hop artists. I think it's almost exclusively hip-hop artists.
I think so.
And I have all of them just peppered into my workout playlist. But all of the songs are non-explicit because it's a PG film.
Right.
And it does show, like, you can make some really incredibly good hip-hop music. I mean, I'm a really big hip-hop person, but you can make some of these really good songs, really big hype, pump-up songs, and there's no swearing in it. There's nothing dirty about these songs, and you're like, and you don't realize it until someone tells you, and then you're like, huh, I guess you're right. There is nothing, like, dirty about this. But it's just, like, this aggressive manner, and the way what they're saying is just really cool.
Yeah, I do remember I enjoyed the soundtrack while it was playing over the film. I haven't dove into listening to it like on Spotify or anything like that, but I think I will now that you mentioned all that, because going back and thinking about it, it's just like it was a perfect soundtrack to a kid of mixed like African American and Hispanic descent, growing up in an urban environment. It's just like it's been perfect,
and it's modern.
Yeah,
it's very 20. It's like the second decade in the 2000s. He's very like modern, relevant. Like in the background in his room, I just noticed because from Chicago, there's a Chance the Rapper poster, and there's a bunch of other movie posters that are kind of spoof versions that I'm like, that's really cool. And, like, in Times Square, there's, like, a Coca-Cola sign. There's a movie with Seth Rogen. There's a Shaun of the Dead poster. There's, like, all these things that I'm like, that's really funny. And did you notice in, like, the Spider Cave, like, the non-Bat Cave, they had the Marvel Cinematic Universe costumes?
Yes, I did. I did notice the Stark outfit, like, the, whatever it's called, the Mark whatever outfit. Yeah. There's so many little visual touches and references to that. It's a movie that also begs to be watched several times.
Yes, and I'm guessing there's going to be a sequel for this. I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope they take a while with it, but I could see this turning into its own whole universe thing of animated versions of characters.
Oh yeah, I would love for different filmmakers, or even the same ones that did this, because and for people that don't know, it's Phil Lord and Chris Miller who are like the main guys involved with this. They did the Lego Movie, and another very, very good. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But yeah, I would love to see a lot of different filmmakers take on like superhero characters that we all know.
Sorry.
And just kind of putting their own spin on, and maybe not like so much, because like this one took on Miles Morales, which this is, to my knowledge, the first film that has taken on his origin story. The Spider-Man video game that came out this year on PlayStation 4, it does touch on Miles Morales a little bit in his origin, but more of like a side story.
Yes.
But I think if different filmmakers wanted to do different characters within these superhero universes and put their own very creative, very kind of crazy spin on it, like I'm all for that.
Yes.
Because we've all seen the origin stories of all the traditional, the Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. We've all seen those now. Those don't necessarily need to be done right away or again, because they've all been done very well. But yeah, something like Miles Morales, or I might hate myself for saying this if someone actually does do it, but something like Robin.
Yes. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, if they take something very, very specifically focused on Robin, and maybe pepper in like quite a few Batman references throughout it, like to see, everyone knows where his story is going.
Yeah.
Because he will eventually team up with Batman, obviously. But yeah, if they really just focus on Robin and his origin story, I think someone that took as creative a leap as Lord and Miller did with Into the Spider-Verse, I think that would be a great film.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And I will tell you what Phil Lord has done. I'm sure Chris Miller is involved with these, but his what he's produced, I'll read them off really quick. Lego Movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Clone High, 22 Jump Street, and then
21 and 22 Jump Street movies, yes.
And then he directed, I'll go through it really quickly, Last Man on Earth, 22 Jump Street, Lego Movie, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, 21 Jump Street, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, How I Met Your Mother. I'm sure they're just specific episodes. Brigsby Bear, he helped produce the movie Trolls, Go Fish, and Made in Hollywood. So like a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of other things in here that he helped write, that he helped like co-produce. Him and Chris Miller have and they did Solo, like the Han Solo Star Wars movie. They have a really big filmography there. So it was in good hands. And I think like when people heard that they were doing it, people were like, oh, obviously this is going to be, it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be good or great.
Yeah. They put out quality work.
And I will play a little sample of a few songs from the soundtrack. So, 1 second. Let's put on like this. So, like. So that's the first song. And then I think the one everyone knows is Sunflower with Post Malone. Which is like and then I'll just put it in the middle. So that's like the most famous one from it. And then the ending credit song, which is Elevate, which is pretty good. And then so they're all hip hop based songs, hip hop and different genres. Some are like more intense rap, whatever. They're incredible. When I was done with the film, I think I listened through the entire album like 6 times. But yeah, I really recommend it. And we talked about it for like 25 minutes, but go see it.
Speaking of trailers and hip hop music, did you see Jordan Peele's trailer for his next movie?
Yes.
Woo! Does that look good?
Yes. One sec.
For people that don't know, it's titled Us.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it looks so good. I don't know if it's Get Out level good, but I saw it and I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be like... Get Out is a horror movie. Did you think Get Out was scary or no?
I thought it was... I would consider Get Out more of a thriller than horror, but I did feel like it was scary and like incredibly tense.
Yeah, there wasn't... Yeah, I don't know. Something about Get Out, yes, it's horrifying, but I was never... scared like when I watched The Babadook. That movie scared me. Get Out made me think, and it was like a thriller where I was like, uh-oh. Like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. Like kind of like how the movie Split was. Where it's kind of a horror movie, but kind of not. Where like there's nothing inherently terrifying in the movie, but the whole time you're like, what's about to happen?
Yeah, what Get Out did so perfectly was it kept building up this sense of unease and like something is not right and something is definitely something bad is definitely going to happen.
Yes.
And it kept building that until the final like twist happens.
Yeah. And I don't want to spoil Get Out. That if you haven't seen that, go see it. I think it's on Amazon Prime or on HBO Go or something.
HBO, I believe, still has it on there.
Okay. If you have HBO go take one of your friends' online passwords or something. Go watch it. It's incredible. But this new film that he's doing, this looks
like more of a straight up horror film.
Yeah, this movie looks scary. And as I've said on the podcast, also I did finish all the movies you sent me. I'm not a big horror person. Just in general, that doesn't mean I don't like horror. I just don't like being scared because I'm a little baby. I'm going to go see this movie. This one and Brightburn are...
Yes. And I'm very happy that this one is coming out very soon. It's in March.
Yeah.
It seems like kind of the thing, like, I was kind of surprised when he, because I follow Jordan Peele on Twitter, and he dropped it on there first, I want to say, maybe consecutively with like YouTube and other platforms, but when it said, like, it's, like, you know, coming in March or something, I'm like, damn, usually with a filmmaker that's, like, as popular and made such a popular movie as Get Out, 2017 was that? Or was that still
2016?
16. Oh, Jesus, that was so long ago.
Maybe it was 2016. I don't remember, but yeah.
But yeah, like you would think like they're going to hype this movie and give it plenty of time. But no, it's only 3 months away.
Yeah, I think that might be a new trend in movies coming out because things leak so fast and people start predicting things. So I think certain films will get into the trend of releasing a trailer right before the film drops if people already have buzz about it, but nothing's coming out. Like they're like, oh, this director's working on a new project and we don't know what it is. Like almost like Wes Anderson or something like that. Like those prestige directors. Now Jordan Peele's one of them where people are like, oh, it's a new Jordan Peele project. Like we know he's working on something, but we don't know anything about it. And then he just drops a trailer. He's like, oh yeah, P.S. the movie comes out in 6 weeks. Because he knows he's going to get the audience. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm all for that sort of that small wait time. Because like, yeah, if someone like, for Tarantino's next film, like if he drops the trailer and like all of a sudden it's like, hey, guess what? You got like 8 weeks tops to wait, and then this movie's coming out. I'm like, fuck yeah, I don't have to stew and like build up my expectations so much that I might be a little bit disappointed. I can really only say that I really love this movie. I still like it, but I was kind of like not let down by it, but just I think I had my expectations too high. Was The Hateful Eight?
Yes. Okay, here's what we should do. Next week, let's do a Tarantino episode.
Okay.
Because I will talk about all of these movies for 9 hours. First of all, I will say this is controversial, especially someone who went to film school and is going to do film in grad school. I'm not a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. I love Pulp Fiction. I love Reservoir Dogs. I really, really enjoy Kill Bill, and I really, really enjoy Inglourious Bastards. And also Grindhouse is cool. That's kind of a separate thing, though.
Right.
I don't know. I heard your dog. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't know if I like Quentin Tarantino, though, which I will explain that more next week. But I have like a whole thing about that. And that's not me being like, he's a shitty director. He's incredible. He's a visionary. He is out of this world. And he's insane. But I'll get into some of the things I don't like about Tarantino. Not saying I don't like Tarantino. It's my own personal criticism of him being a film person. But I'm like, if Quentin Tarantino called me, he's like, hey, I'll tutor you for a week in film. 100% I'll say yes.
Yeah,
before he's even
going to turn that down.
Yeah, before he even finishes the sentence, yes, 100%, because I really look up to as an artist. But just like any artist that you look up to in some capacity, there's things you don't like. And it's not...
I have a feeling we probably have some similar things that we dislike about maybe some things personally about him and also a bit of his craft.
Yes. Some of the not separating the art from the artist, I have some issues with him. And yes, especially his more recent films. His original films, yes, they have issues. They're not perfect films at all. But they are what they are. They're staples of filmmaking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we can definitely save
Yes.
Our big conversation about this for next week. I'm all on board for that.
Yes, I will have to do a bunch of movie watching this week, which is not a problem. But yes, so next week we will do a Quentin Tarantino episode, and really get into it. Like, that's the only topic we'll cover is him. Because I've wanted to do some, and I think we can do a whole series on directors.
Oh, for sure.
I think if we did Spielberg, you'd have to do 10 different episodes because he's made...
Lord.
I mean, you can do whole episodes on... You can do whole series on certain of his films. Like, Spielberg would be hard because that means you have to watch Schindler's List, which I had to watch last year for a class that Ben and I were in, and that fulfills you only have to watch Schindler's List once every 5 years because it makes you too sad. And it makes you sob the entire time. Because it makes you realize how bad Nazis are, and how bad complacency is. But yeah, we should do one on different directors. I think we should do Tarantino next week. Eventually, let's do Wes Anderson.
Okay. I've seen most of his.
I've seen every Wes Anderson movie, but that's not important. And we can do him. We can do Guillermo del Toro because the new Hellboy is coming out.
It is. And that one is being directed by Neil Marshall.
Yeah, it is.
Which he made one of my favorite horror movies of all time, which is titled The Descent.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah. Incredibly good movie. But yeah, I didn't even know they were doing another Hellboy until the trailer dropped, and I was like, oh shit. And that's what's his name from Stranger Things?
Yeah, it's the police officer.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love the original 2 Hellboy movies. I love the Hellboy comic. I'm a big Hellboy fan. This new Hellboy looks like it's going to be like more funny, but like in the same way the new Shazam movie is going to be funny, but in not like a comedy-esque. Maybe Shazam will be a comedy, but that's different. This movie looks like more lighthearted, and it leans into the craziness of the Hellboy universe. Like, the house that kicks him is like the Baba Yaga house, like the folklore, and there's like bigger trolls. There's just like this crazy stuff happening. And like the line, I thought it was kind of a clever line. Some people didn't like it, where they're like, what's the fist for? He's like, all right, break stuff. And I'm like, I think that's just funny because he's more just like, the Ron Perlman version is incredible, but I think this version is going to be even more deadpan, where he's like, yup,
yeah,
this is what I do.
I don't think I ever saw the second Hellboy film, the second Guillermo del Toro one.
It is better than the first one. The Golden Army.
That's high praise then.
The second one, in my opinion, is better than the first one. Yes, you should 100% watch the Golden Army. I don't know why there wasn't a third one. I just don't. Maybe it didn't sell well, but that movie is better than the first one. And I remember I saw those in theaters, which, yeah, was... Because I didn't know what Hellboy was before I saw that. And I think my parents took me. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. But yeah.
And that might have been a reason. I would have to look up the numbers as far as box office success, but it might have been something that was maybe a little bit too weird for a lot of mainstream viewers, to where they felt like they weren't going to make a good profit off of a third one.
Yeah, and I think the Hellboy is a comic. It's a graphic novel series. And I think that was kind of before the big comic book craze.
Oh yeah, for sure. It came out, I want to say, what, 3 to 5 years before Iron Man first did?
Yeah, let's look up when the first Hellboy came out, and then this is a topic we'll close on. So let me look this up. Let's look up Hellboy.
Yeah, I want to say it was, the first Hellboy was like 2002 or 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I remember I went to see it in theaters. Let's look. Hellboy, the original one, was 2004.
2004, okay, I was a year off.
Yeah, so it was 2004, and then the other one was like 2007 or 8.
And then Iron Man was 2009?
2008.
Okay.
This was probably 2004 and then 2007, and then Iron Man was 2008.
Yeah, so this Hellboy was in the middle of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man era.
Yes, and even like the first X-Men, which was 2001, it had, and so was Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Those were like the same year. There was like 2000, 2001.
Yeah, and then X2 might have came out the same year as Hellboy then.
Yeah,
so
I think it was 2004.
Okay.
And the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was around the same time. So there's a lot. V for Vendetta was around the same time. So there's a lot of graphic novel things.
Yeah, Alan Moore was represented heavily.
Yeah.
Even though he hates like adaptations of his own work.
Yeah, he won't see his own movies, which I think is really funny. But I think the Hellboy thing, I mean, the opening scene of the original X-Men is very dark, the Holocaust scene.
It's very dark, necessarily so.
Yes, and it's really good, and it sets a tone for why the mutants are the way they are, and I really like it. But I think Hellboy was so different and so dark and weird in a good way, but audiences did not know what to expect from that. They're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie A History of Violence?
Oh, yes. That is one of my favorite Cronenberg movies.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings is in it. Did you know that's a comic book?
I did know
Yeah.
that. I didn't know it until after I had seen it.
Same. But holy shit, that if you guys have not seen, also if you're a kid, do not watch History of Violence.
Oh god, no.
It is brutal. There's a naked fight scene in it. Holy shit. That movie...
You're thinking of Eastern Promise.
Oh, I'm thinking Eastern. Sorry. History of Violence.
Viggo Mortensen and David Cronenberg.
Yeah, no.
It's also a very good movie.
Yeah, I get those movies that are like Deep Impact and Armageddon. I get the two confused because they're quite similar. They're different, but they're similar. But no, History of Violence is holy shit good. Go watch it.
Yeah.
It will make you rethink the fact that you're like, I don't like comic book movies. Go watch it.
Yeah, if you think comic books are all superheroes, and which I'm sure a lot of people at this point in time probably don't believe that, but they would more associate comic books with superhero stuff, but they may not realize that there are some dark stories as dark and like adult themed as A History of Violence.
Yes. I guess I'll say this on the podcast. Ben, I got you a Christmas present, and it has to do with comic books.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to it. You didn't have to do anything for me.
No, it's all
good. Me.
Oh, yeah. No, I got Ben a Christmas present, guys. I can't say what it is on the show, but it has to do with comic books. I will say, I'm not going to say what it is. It's a graphic novel, but it's something you might not have heard of, but something I think that you'll really appreciate.
I look forward to it.
And it's something...
I have to think of something to send to you.
No, it's... you seriously don't need to send me anything. I don't need anything. I have everything I've ever wanted. But it is a comic book or a graphic novel I've read because one of my friends lent me a copy a long time ago when it came out in like 2015. And I read it, and I don't say this lightly, I cried.
Ooh.
And it's one of those things, just like certain movies like The Prestige, where it's better when you read it or watch it the second time. But yes.
Man, that's high praise. I'm looking forward to this now.
Yes, I will be sending it to you. I mean, I finished the movies as well. So sorry, this is totally off-topic podcasting. We'll talk about this through the show. But yes, Ben, do you have any closing comments?
I hope everyone has had a, like we said kind of at the beginning, more highs than lows in this past 2018. I hope everyone has a plan to make 2019 as good as possible. Go forward, achieve your goals, learn new things, be good to people, be a good human being.
100%. Yeah, make 2019 a better year than 2018. Even though 2018 might have been the best year ever, let's make it even a bester year ever. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing to end on. And just like Ben said last time, if you're having trouble with the holiday season, some people are, some people do. Listen to the show. We care. We're out here. Email us. Seriously, if you probably the best way to get a hold of us is Instagram. Just DM us. I'm not kidding. Like, I know it sounds silly, but if you don't have it, seriously, email us. Go on the Facebook page. Message us. Legit, one or both of us will reply. So yes. But yeah, everyone have a safe week, safe everything. I will let Ben sign off. Also, we do have a website. It is always linked in the description. If you want to email us, all that other good shit is linked in the description. Seriously, do it. We do read the stuff, unless it's hate mail, and I'll read it live on the show. You think I'm kidding? But yeah, so thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Ben, close us out.
All right, as always, thank you guys all so much for listening to us this year. We look forward to having you guys as listeners next year and for many years, as long as we are fortunate enough to do this for all of you guys. This has been See What Sticks, a podcast about everything and nothing. I am Ben. Thank you so much. We'll see you next year.